Greetings, fellow cultivators. Welcome to Auto Nova. Remember to like and subscribe to support the journey. Today, we're diving into the story of what's the point of cultivating immortality if you don't have money. Lemulin said with interest, "What kind of potion do you want? For body refinement? Or for increasing mana? I can drink more before I come next time." Xiong looked at her strangely and said, "What are you going to do?" Lemulin thought to herself, "I just want to see if you can resist drinking my sweat." Thinking that the other party had refused 400,000 during the martial arts competition, Lemulin felt that if she told him her curiosity, he might directly refuse. So she decided to secretly increase the value of the potion, just to see if Xiong would eventually change his mind and drink it. The thought flashed through her mind, and Lemulin continued, "Your service is good, so it's just a matter of lifting a finger for me. I don't mind helping you out." Xiong thought for a while and said, "I'm currently focused on body refinement." Lemulin nodded, understood. "Before I come next time, I will inject 10 doses of bone and muscle enhancer into my body. This is originally a body refinement medicine that can only be injected in the late stage of ki refining, but it's just right for me who has super metabolism, and you can even use it after I metabolize it. Bone and muscle enhancer can effectively increase bone density, improve the repair efficiency of muscle fibers, and the absorption capacity of spiritual energy and nutrients. Each one costs 10,000 yuan. Oral administration is more effective than topical application." Seeing the other party's stunned look, Lemulin smiled slightly, and suddenly had more expectations for the next training. She wanted to know whether Xiong would drink the potion next time. Opening the door and looking at Bai Zhenjin, who was already waiting outside, Lemulin nodded and turned to leave. As soon as Bai Zhenjin entered the room, she looked at the water stains on the ground. Xiong, who was on the side, looked at Bai Zhenjin, who was starting to lick her lips, rolled his eyes and said, "Again, you can't lick this." Bai Zhenjin said with a regretful face, "Isn't it too wasteful, Yuzi? The smell of this medicine is high-end goods, very valuable. A lick can earn at least dozens of yuan. You can't get carried away just because you've made some money now. You don't know how to be thrifty. We're still poor." Xiong persuaded, "You can't be willing to do anything for money." Bai Zhenjin didn't care, money can buy anything. What can you do for money? Xiong was a little speechless, because in Kongshu, you can really buy anything with money. He could only change his words again. The lower limit is lowered step by step. Now we are willing to lick the sweat of rich people to save money. Will we have to be the dogs of rich people in the future? Do you remember when you advised me not to gamble when you were in Faisai? It's the same. One step back, every step back." Saying that, Xiong showed the potion that was still emitting a strange fragrance on his body, and said, "If you really want to try it, just rub it on the floor, or on my body." "Okay." Bai Zhenjin nodded, "What you said makes sense, then I'll rub it on your body." Bai Zhenjin touched Xiong's arm with her hand, and then applied the potion to her body. Xiong pointed to the bag on the ground, and told Bai Zhenjin that it was the medicine he bought from Lemulin, and Lemulin brought it over today. Then Xiong swallowed one of the Hunyuan pills in one gulp, feeling the power of the 24,000 yuan medicine integrate into his body. Xiong said, "I have to hurry up and use the medicinal effect to refine my body. Again, lend me your true spiritual root for a while." "Okay." Bai Zhenjin nodded and leaned close to Xiong from behind. While smelling the fragrance of the medicine from the other party's body, she tried to rub more of the potion on her body and sent the spiritual route into Xiong's body. On the other side, Xiong was immersed in the practice of Scarlet Marrow Hunyuan Qi. First, the potion rubbed from Lemulin's body continuously integrated into his body, helping Xiong to restore his physical strength and energy and enhancing the effect of exercise. Then, the medicinal power of Hunyuan pill spread into the limbs and bones, increasing the strength of Xiong's flesh, bones with the operation of Scarlet Marrow Hunyuan Qi. Then, the operation of the Great Sun Qi Tsi constantly accelerated Xiong's metabolism, accelerated Xiong's absorption of drugs, and accelerated the transformation of Xiong's flesh and blood. After Xiong further smoothed his thinking and reduced his mental consumption, with the remnant bull abandoning body and mind art, the metabolism in his body was further accelerated. Finally, the true spiritual root was constantly swallowing and spitting out spiritual energy, assisting the practice of Scarlet Marrow Hunyuan Qi, and nourishing Xiong's flesh, bones, and nerves little by little. Under the strengthening of one layer after another, Zhang Yu's physical strength was being pushed crazily. And at this moment, he didn't think about anything. He just circulated the scarlet marrow Hunyuan Qi over and over again, feeling his physical strength constantly improving, and feeling his body becoming stronger and stronger. Inside Xian High School, several students looked at the faint bruises on Le Mulin's wrist and said enviously, "Did the sacred number 1 go to combat training again?" Another student said with jealousy, being able to be the sparring partner of the sacred number 1. And being able to leave marks on her body, I can't even imagine such a beautiful thing. Bian Tianji, who was not far away, showed a look of disdain on his face when he heard the words of several people, and thought to himself, a group of guys without courage. What's there to be afraid of? The next day, there was no Lemulan sparring that day. And so, they saw Bai Zhenjin take out a row of syringes, circulating her magic power within them. Then, her hands moved in a series of after images, already stabbing each syringe into various parts of Zhang Yu's body. It was the 9-dragon needle technique that Bai Zhenjin had learned from the competition team. To pass the Foundation Establishment Certificate exam, and to further improve his physical strength, Zhang Yu finally chose to take drugs. Of course, this was also because his internal organs were becoming stronger, and the medicinal toxins accumulated in his body were being eliminated through the practice of the scarlet marrow primordial key. Therefore, Zhang Yu decided to try taking drugs, and would stop if his body felt any discomfort. The drugs were purchased at an 80% discount through a channel introduced by Yu Mulin, costing 10,500, but it was still cheaper than the prices from the competition team. After comparing, Bai Zhenjin found that even with the benefits from the competition team, the cheapest drugs were only 10% off, and the more expensive ones were only 2% off, far less cost-effective than Yu Mulin's channel. Speaking of which, Zhang Yu still remembered a benefit from the competition team. After winning first place in the physical competition, one could receive a subsidy of 20,000 yuan for purchasing a body refining technique. The newest novels are first published on 69shu.com. It's just that Zhang Yu didn't plan to change his body refining technique for the time being, and he decided to claim the subsidy later when he changed techniques. At this moment, each needle was inserted by Bai Zhenjin, according to different rhythms and acupoints, and then supplemented with magic power to vibrate and inject the medicinal power deep into Zhang Yu's muscles and bones. After completing a set of the 9-dragon needle technique, Zhang Yu felt the 10,500 yuan worth of medicine being pushed into his flesh and blood, crazily nourishing his body. At the same time, accompanied by the surge of qi and blood, Zhang Yu also felt his body become more sensitive, allowing him to more accurately perceive his physical body. While Bai Zhenjin was finishing the 9-dragon needle technique, she hugged Zhang Yu from behind, intending to send the spiritual route over. Who knew that as soon as she hugged him, Zhang Yu suddenly bent over, making Bai Zhenjin look puzzled. Because at the moment Bai Zhenjin hugged him, Zhang Yu suddenly felt a special touch. He was shocked. Was it because Zhen was wearing less today? Then he realized. No, it's because I'm wearing less. At this moment, Zhang Yu was not wearing a shirt in order to facilitate the injection. And Zhang Yu could feel that Bai Zhenjin, who was only wearing a t-shirt, was tightly against him. The barrier of only a thin layer of clothing could not stop Zhang Yu from sensing the power of Bai Zhenjin's embrace. Every point of force, every point of contact, even allowed him to perfectly construct the outline of the other party pressing against his body and his mind. The pressure from the lower abdomen, the small belly, the slender arms, and other positions. Especially with Zhang Yu's bending over, the rubbing between the two made his heart itch even more. Zhang Yu finally realized that this was the sensitivity brought about by the 9-dragon needle technique. Damn it, no wonder they want to cut it off. How can you train if you're so sensitive? At this moment, Zhang Yu had become a staunch supporter of Xiong High School's policies. Of course, he himself didn't need it, because he had a firm will and extreme self-discipline to overcome the distracting thoughts in his heart. For example, at this moment, he could righteously say, "Ah Shen, come down quickly after sending the spiritual route, you are disturbing my training." Bai Zhenjin sent the spiritual route into Zhang Yu's body, and asked curiously, "Why are you always bending over?" Suddenly, she understood and looked at Zhang Yu with a look of contempt. "Look at you, I told you to cut it off long ago, but you insisted on keeping it. If you fail to pass the Foundation Establishment Certificate exam in the future, it's all because of this disaster." Zhang Yu waved his hand and said, "It's okay. I have supreme will. A little distracting thought is not worth my spending money to suppress." After saying that, he had already activated the crippled ox body and mind technique, feeling as if he had turned into a seriously disabled ox, bravely moving forward in a muddy field. After a while, Zhang Yu let out a long breath, feeling the medicinal power boiling all over his body, and immediately seized the time to practice the Scarlet Marrow Primordial Key. In this way, Zhang Yu Mushi Mulin's potion, when Yu, Mulin, had it, and by Zhenjin would use the 9-dragon needle technique on days when Yu, Mulin, didn't have it. Under the alternating of these two methods, Zhang Yu felt that his physical strength was increasing rapidly every day. And by Zhenjin, also benefited a lot in this process, such as mooching second-hand potions and buying cheap body refining potions. Especially with the rotation of the true spiritual root, every time the spiritual root ray entered her body, Bai Zhenjin felt a burst of heat coming from within. That was the true spiritual route gradually developing the ability to swallow and spit out the essence of the sun and moon in the process of constantly adapting to Zhang Yu, allowing Bai Zhenjin to also absorb spiritual energy from the light. In the rented small apartment, unknowingly, more and more spotlights bought by Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin were added, illuminating the entire room every night, allowing the great sun Qi and the true spiritual root to swallow and spit out more spiritual energy from it. Time passed in a blink of an eye and came to the beginning of May. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin gradually realized that if they wanted to reach their goal in August, the progress of their magic power and Dao heart was not fast enough. So on this day, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin came to the protected area 90 kilometers away from the center of Songyang City because they had agreed with Zhang Wenwu to meet here to discuss the matter of the spiritual veins. On the pedestrian walkway of the highway, two figures, one in front and one behind, stirred up gusts of wind as they sped towards the Lingji protection zone. It was Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin. However, at this moment, apart from Zhang Yu using his sports car legs to rush on the road, Bai Zhenjin's body occasionally flashed with electric light, as she was also using her newly learned electric light steps to follow behind Zhang Yu. Unlike Zhang Yu, who focused on enhancing his physical strength, Bai Zhenjin, because she was participating in the martial arts track, spent more time on cultivating martial arts techniques in addition to improving her Dao heart, mana, and physical strength. This electric light steps was a combat technique that allowed Bai Zhenjin to perform short-range high-speed movements in battle, making it more flexible, easier to change, and more explosive than sports car legs, making this technique more suitable for combat. At this moment, she simply used it for both traveling and practicing. And under the sunlight, Bai Zhenjin could also feel a trace of warmth constantly flowing in her body, which was the true spiritual route absorbing the spiritual energy in the light. However, the current true spiritual root gradually adapted to the regulation of light and darkness, and could understand Bai Zhenjin's thoughts, and would not make her dim. On the other side, Zhang Yu, under the sunlight, felt as if molten lava was flowing all over his body, frantically devouring the spiritual energy in the sunlight falling from the sky. At the same time, he was also calculating in his heart. The purpose of this trip to the Lingji protection zone was to go through Zhang Wenwu's connections, to see if he could rent a spiritual vein position at a cheaper price for breathing exercises. After all, in recent days, although his physical strength had been growing rapidly, the improvement of Dao heart and mana was too slow for Zhang Yu, relying solely on the cultivation method. And it is said that spiritual veins are not only rich in spiritual energy, which can greatly improve the efficiency of mana refining, but also improve physical fitness, dispel diseases, and prolong life after a long time, with countless benefits. Forget about renting the entire spiritual vein, let's see if the money in hand can rent a position so that Ajin and I can breathe in the spiritual vein. Although there had been income from the dark tutoring world, Lemulin, Yuxingen, and Song Hailong during this period, and he had also received the first endorsement fee of 200,000. However, Zhang Yu's expenses were also quite a lot. For example, a Hunyuan pill every 3 days cost 24,000, and each set of 9-dragon acupuncture cost another 10,500 yuan, and recently, because he had been focusing on body refining, the continuous improvement of his physical strength had also increased his food expenses to 1,500 yuan per day, and after the beginning of May, he also repaid 15,000 in loan interest. Zhang Yu looked at his account balance again, and there was still 570,000. He thought to himself, renting a position in a spiritual vein should not be a big problem, right? The two continued to speed all the way, and more factories gradually appeared around them. Wisps of white smoke continuously poured out of the huge chimneys, and they could also see some factories with the red pagoda animal husbandry signboard printed on them. Just as Zhang Yu's eyes swept across this row of factories, he suddenly startled slightly. What is that? I saw that on the land that was originally suspected to be a factory, there was only a ruin left at this moment, with broken walls everywhere, as if it had experienced a great battle. There was even a palm print hundreds of meters wide, on the hillside not far behind, and fragments of various towers, walls, and machinery remained on the hillside. Patches of light curtains enveloped the ruins, and various warning signs appeared on the light curtains, just like the police line at a murder scene. Zhang Yu said, "Is this a war?" Bai Zhenzhen glanced at it and said, "Don't you know this? It was quite popular on the internet half a year ago. It was just that a factory was investigated for tax evasion. The tax evader resisted on the spot, and all kinds of flying swords and magic weapons came out, killing most of the tax supervisors who came to investigate." Zhang Yu was shocked. Were the tax evaders in Kongshu so fierce? Bai Zhenzhen continued, "Then the tax supervisors invited the divine power of the Gongfu heavenly supervision god, and with one palm, the entire factory was reimbursed, and at the same time, the souls of most of the criminals were drawn away." Most of them? Zhang Yu was surprised. What about those whose souls were not drawn away? Are they dead or did they run away? Bai Zhenzhen said, "They committed suicide directly at the moment, when the Gongfu heavenly supervision god descended." Jiang Yu swallowed and once again, rejoiced that he had not evaded taxes in Kongshu. The two continued to speed all the way, and soon saw a huge arc appearing on the distant horizon. It was the target of their trip. It is said that a long time ago, this Lingji protection zone was once the territory of demon beasts, and there were even several powerful great demons haunting it. The so-called great demons are powerful monsters, and now monsters are called demon descendants. Unlike demon beasts, which are regarded as animals, demon descendants often have true wisdom, and can integrate into social life and work. But later, the great demons here were defeated by the company's security forces. The protection zone changed hands several times, and was eventually bought by Red Pagoda Animal Husbandry, and operated to this day. I heard that it still retains various natural landscapes, and various demon beasts that originally lived there. Of course. These have all become assets of Red Pagoda Animal Husbandry. And Zhang Yu could see clearly at this moment, that there seemed to be an extremely huge glass cover, covering the continuous mountains and hills. And as the two continued to approach, they could also see dense runes appearing on the glass cover from time to time, which was the power of the formation isolating the two worlds, inside and outside. In addition, Zhang Yu could also see many red warning words on it. They were all similar to Red Pagoda Animal Husbandry private territory. Please purchase tickets and enter from the main entrance. Bai Zhenzhen looked at it and cursed. It's really stingy. Are they unwilling to reveal even a little bit of the air in the protection zone? She originally thought about whether she could rub against the spiritual energy and air coming from inside across the boundary of the protection zone, but now it seems that they had already guarded against this point. The two continued to move forward and came to the ticket office at the main entrance of the Lingji protection zone. Seeing that the ticket price was only 5 yuan, Bai Zhenzhen and Zhang Yu were shocked. What was the difference between this and free? Was Red Pagoda Animal Husbandry doing charity? Bai Zhenzhen immediately retracted her stingy evaluation, in her heart. Where was Red Pagoda Animal Husbandry stingy? It was simply too generous. The two opened their mobile phones and wanted to see if there were any discounts, and were surprised to find that the rating of this protection zone was only 1.3. But after the ticket seller stuck the protection zone air meter, spiritual energy monitor, weight monitor on their bodies, the two understood why the ticket seemed to be free, and why the rating was so low. I only heard the ticket seller say, the price of air in the protection zone is 1999 yuan per cubic meter, the price of water per liter is 2888 yuan, and the price of spiritual energy per unit is 3999 yuan. The price list of all plants, animals, and even soil, stones, and other materials in the protection zone is in the user manual. I will send it to you. Please receive it. Zhang Yu looked at the dense price list in the user manual and was speechless. Whether it was air, water, food, or anything else in this Lingji protection zone, it all cost money. Ordinary people might go bankrupt just by picking up a few stones. Bai Zhenzhen said nervously. Yuzi, breathe less when you go in later. It's too expensive. The two who bought the tickets first entered the closed cabin. With the closing of the rear cabin door, the two had completely isolated themselves from the outside world. Then, as the front cabin door opened, Zhang Yu felt an incomparably fresh air rushing towards him. Just taking a deep breath, Zhang Yu felt comfortable all over, and the flesh and blood all over his body seemed to relax. The newest novel is first published in 69 bookstore. This is air. What did I breathe before? He felt that the air he usually smelled was simply car exhaust compared to this. So I have been in such a bad air environment? Is it just that I am used to it? Zhang Yu walked out of the closed cabin and completely put himself in the environment of the protection zone. Taking a deep breath, Zhang Yu only felt as if he had been washed all over, and the qi and blood and mana in his body became more and more lively. Even in this marginal area, Zhang Yu could feel that the concentration of spiritual energy in the air was almost the same as that of the quiet room in Songyang High School, which had a spiritual gathering effect. And as the two walked quickly along the sightseeing road, the spiritual energy in the air became more and more concentrated, and even by Zhenzhen's spiritual energy billing had risen to more than 500, scaring her to quickly suppress the true spiritual root so that the true spiritual root would not breathe in spiritual energy for the time being. Zhang Yu also felt that the spiritual energy absorbed from the light by the great sun qi, si, was more concentrated. Practicing here for a day would probably be equivalent to practicing outside for several days. Bai Zhenzhen patted her chest in fear and said, "This broken place is too easy to go bankrupt. Let's leave as soon as we see Zhang Wenwu." Zhang Yu nodded in agreement. Staying in this Lingji protection zone made him feel more dangerous than staying at a gang fight scene. He thought in his heart, again breathing and practicing in the outer area is so expensive. How much will it cost to go to the real spiritual vein? At this moment, he doubted whether he could rent a position in a spiritual vein this time. Especially when he opened the map and looked at it, there were 3 spiritual veins in this protection zone, running through 7 major areas and more than 20 hills, but tourists could not enter them. Either they were private territories that had been rented out for a long time, or they were various pastures, factories, and plantations. It can be said that all the areas that tourists can enter are on the periphery of the spiritual vein. However, even the price of breathing and practicing in this outer area, for a long time, was unaffordable for him. Alas, ordinary tourists can only enter the protection zone and rub against the periphery of the spiritual vein to practice. They don't even have a way to get in. At this moment, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen no longer expected to rent a position in a spiritual vein. He would be satisfied if he could find a way to rub against the air on the periphery of the spiritual vein cheaper. Let's go see Zhang Wenwu first and see what he says. The place where Zhang Wenwu agreed to meet them was the breeding base, which was located in a remote area on the edge of the protection zone. The two moved forward along the map. Every time they passed a mountain peak, they could feel the spiritual energy rising into the sky from the mountain peak, which was heavily blocked by light curtains and formations. The spiritual energy was so concentrated that it seemed to be raining spiritual energy. Even Bai Zhenzhen and Zhang Yu really saw a drizzle falling from the mountain from time to time. The spiritual energy in the rain was steaming, which made them secretly tongue-tied. These mountain peaks were the real locations of the spiritual veins. Unlike the tourist area that Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen were walking on at the moment, it was just the outer area of the spiritual vein, and they could absorb a little air and spiritual energy leaking from above. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen could not imagine what those people staying on the mountain were doing, and they needed to swallow such a huge amount of spiritual energy, and how much money would it cost per second? And below the mountain peak, on the outside of the light curtain separating the tourists, on the side of the tourist area, Zhang Yu would often see poor people carrying oxygen cylinders and water bottles, rubbing against the foot of the mountain, like small fish attached to a whale, absorbing the spiritual energy overflowing from the spiritual vein, and obtaining a cultivation efficiency far exceeding the outside world. No, Zhang Yu denied the idea in his mind just now. How can these be poor people? Being able to rub against the foot of this mountain to practice, according to the billing here, they are all rich people to us. There are really a lot of rich people in Kongshu. Bai Zhenzhen on the side said, "I knew we should have brought oxygen cylinders, it's too uneconomical to breathe here." Zhang Yu nodded in agreement. More than 10 minutes later, the two finally arrived at the so-called breeding base. From the outside, this place looked like a huge factory, completely isolated from the outside world. If tourists wanted to visit, they would have to spend another 200 yuan on a ticket. Bai Zhenzhen thought to herself, damn it, could it be that Zhang Wenwu is trying to boost sales performance, so he deliberately set the meeting place here? Although displeased, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen still spent 400 yuan to buy two tickets and entered the breeding base. As soon as they entered, the feeling of being refreshed and cleansed with every breath, which they had experienced in the reserve, disappeared. Instead, they were met with a dry, bitter air. Zhang Yu wondered, isn't the breeding base connected to the air of the reserve? Is this the air we usually breathe? Bai Zhenzhen sighed in her heart, the demon beasts in this reserve can't even breathe a few breaths of the air their ancestors breathed. Just then, a thick voice rang out, long time no see, Zhang Yu, Bai Zhenzhen. Zhang Yu turned his head and saw a tall figure already waiting for them. It was Zhang Wenwu from Hongta High School. Seeing the two people looking over, Zhang Wenwu said, let's talk while we tour, we can't waste the ticket money. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen followed him to the first stop of the breeding base, the incubation room. On both sides of the corridor, rows and rows of transparent rooms were filled with various types of demon beasts, and the only thing they had in common was that each of them was incubating something that looked like a dragon egg. However, half of the rooms seemed to be empty and not in use. So, this is a demon beast breeding base. Bai Zhenzhen looked at the various demon beasts in the incubation room, as if she were in a zoo, and suddenly pointed at a bear and said, "Ha ha, Zhang Wenwu, doesn't that bear look like you before you were modified?" Zhang Wenwu looked at room 33, where a huge demon bear was lying on the ground, snoring as it slept. Zhang Wenwu said calmly, "That's my mom." Ah. Bai Zhenzhen was stunned. Zhang Wenwu looked at the two of them and said, the breeding base will look for suitable female demon beasts, and then inseminate them with true dragon blood, to create offspring containing dragon blood. I heard that they used incubators directly before, but later the company felt that demon beast mothers were cheaper, and the breeding base didn't need to produce too much, so they found us a real mother. After all, there are demon beasts in the reserve, so it's easy to catch them. Zhang Wenwu looked at the demon beasts in the incubation room, and said calmly, although she is my mother, she is just a demon beast with no intelligence, and she doesn't recognize me anymore. Having never encountered such a conversation before, Bai Zhenzhen and Zhang Yu were both stunned, and didn't know what to say. In the silence, the three of them arrived at the newborn area. Inside each incubator were demon offspring of various shapes. Some were sleeping soundly, some were staring wide-eyed at the outside world, and some had a needle inserted into their backs and were screaming. Zhang Wenwu said calmly, the young will be constantly injected with various potions, and those who cannot withstand the power of the medicine will be eliminated. Then came the study room, where demon offspring were seriously watching the screen, which was playing the junior education version of Hongta Animal Husbandry's onboarding training, which talked about how to cherish the company as if it were their own home. Bai Zhenzhen exclaimed, it's actually a junior education version of onboarding training. Zhang Yu nodded slightly, thinking that Hongta Animal Husbandry was too outrageous. But then Bai Zhenzhen continued, they have a job as soon as they are born. Many people outside would be envious of this treatment, right? Zhang Wenwu said with a somewhat proud tone, the company will provide every demon offspring born in the breeding base with a job, and they can receive onboarding training from an early age, instilling the company's spirit. Because of this, every year, mortals come to protest, wanting to send their children to the breeding base to study with us. After walking a few more steps, they saw a group of demon offspring doing exercises while shouting slogans, work together, create the future, the light of paternal love illuminates you and me. In front of them was a portrait of a black dragon, who seemed to be the chairman of Hongta High School. As they continued to walk, they saw that the demon offspring became older and older, from onboarding training to general education, and after repeated examinations and diversions, more and more demon offspring were assigned to work to repay their breeding debts, and the number of demon offspring who remained to study became less and less. Zhang Wenwu continued, originally, a large number of demon offspring could be produced here every year, and they either worked hard to study, got into university, and became talents for Hongta Animal Husbandry. Or they were directly diverted to work in the company, working diligently and becoming the cornerstone of Hongta Animal Husbandry. But since the introduction of the Oasis Group's new technology, the company has decided to change its business direction, A large number of pastures and factories have been acquired by the Oasis Group, and this breeding base is probably going to be eliminated. Zhang Wenwu knew that for the demon offspring, who had always lived here and worked here, leaving Hongta was more terrifying than going to work in a factory. However, as a mere high school student, he couldn't change anything, and the only thing he could do was to find a way to take care of the people he cared about. After walking and stopping along the way, the three of them arrived at the finished product room. In the rooms on both sides of the corridor, 17-year-old demon offspring were studying hard at their desks. They wore electric shock collars around their necks, which allowed them to stay awake and relieve fatigue. The chains on their feet were connected to the desks, representing their determination to learn wherever they went. The feeders in front of them had an automatic feeding function, which could automatically feed them after they completed an assignment as required. Zhong Wenwu looked at this scene, a trace of nostalgia flashed across his face, and said, "This is to study the general courses of the 3 years of high school, to prepare for the junior high school graduation exam of the breeding base. After all, whether they can enter high school next year will determine whether they will study or work in the future, so everyone studies very seriously." Zhang Yu thought to himself, damn it, not studying will starve you to death, right? Recalling what he had seen and heard after entering the reserve, Zhang Yu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This company is really squeezing people dry, and then grinding them with the soles of their shoes. When they reached the second half, Zhang Wenwu talked about the spiritual vein. The newest and most complete novels are on 69.com. In the incubation room of the breeding base, in order to ensure the growth of the young and the true dragon bloodline, a spiritual vein pipeline is introduced, which contains air and high concentrations of spiritual energy from the spiritual vein. But only the incubation room has this condition, so someone needs to arrange for you to sneak in. Bai Zhenjin wondered, won't we be discovered? Zhong Wenwu shook his head. Most of the breeding base is automated. There is only one person in charge. As long as this person in charge agrees, no one will find out if you rub a little spiritual vein. Zhang Yu pointed to the meter on his body and asked, what about this? Zhang Wenwu said, the breeding base is on the edge of the reserve. There is a material transportation channel to the outside world. I have already cleared the joints, confirmed that there is no problem. Next time I will take you directly through that channel. Only then did Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin notice that Zhang Wenwu really didn't have any meters on him. Zhong Wenwu reminded again, but if you come in through that channel, you can only stay in the breeding base, don't go out. There are too many monitoring methods in the reserve, you will definitely be discovered. Zhang Yu asked again, what's the price? Zhang Wenwu said, 8,000 per hour. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin looked at each other, and both felt that this price was not expensive. After all, according to the price of the outside reserve, with their physique, just breathing without breathing would cost several thousand per hour, not to mention that this is air and rich spiritual energy from the spiritual vein. Bai Zhenjin asked again, why did you choose to trade with us? I asked around, you two are very poor, right? Zhang Wenwu smiled, I don't trust people who are too rich. And you are so poor that you are thinking about the spiritual vein, and you came to ask me about the spiritual vein. There are only two of you. I can be considered to have no choice. Zhang Wenwu continued, now there is one last problem left, that is, the only employee of this breeding base may not agree to this transaction. The person I will take you to see later is her. So I need you to cooperate with me to talk to her. You listen to my arrangements. Hearing Zhang Wenwu's arrangements, a strange look appeared on Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin's faces. Arriving at the final souvenir sales area, in addition to the onboarding training manual, the breeding base's special test papers, the same electric shock collar, and various demon offspring dolls, Zhang Yu's eyes also scanned the various beast bones, beast blood, and demon beast meat. Although demon beasts have always been regarded as animals, completely different from demon offspring, seeing this thing here still made Zhang Yu feel awkward. Arriving at the souvenir counter, Zhang Wenwu greeted with a smile, sister, I'm here to see you. This was the first time Zhang Yu saw Zhang Wenwu's savage face smile so happily. But looking at the little panda behind the counter, Zhang Yu still showed a puzzled look, but thinking that the demon offspring of Hongta High School always called each other brothers and sisters, it didn't seem strange. Zhong Wenwu said to Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin, this is my sister Anon. If she hadn't helped me learn to read when I was a child, I might have been eliminated long ago. She has some opportunities to rub the spiritual vein here, which can be introduced to you. But the little panda behind the counter didn't seem to agree with what Zhang Wenwu said. She raised her hands and said angrily, Zhang Wenwu, what are you doing? I said I won't sell the company's interests. Hearing this, Zhang Wenwu sighed in his heart, and a trace of helplessness flashed across his face. Listening to Audionova, Zhang Wenwu knew that the protection zone was a relatively closed-off place. And the breeding base within the protection zone was even more closed off. The demonkin employees here were born here, grew up here, and died here. Someone like Anew, in front of him, was vastly different from him, who was already in his first year of high school. Because Anew didn't pass the diversion exam at age 6, she was left to work at the breeding base from a young age. Although, because of this, Anew worked and grew up at the base, helping Zhang Wenwu later on. But with more than 20 years of work experience and long-term company training, she had become an excellent Red Pagoda employee, being selected as the Protection Zone's best employee for 8 consecutive years. Her award-winning poster read, "My favorite thing is working for the company. The most hated days are in February every year, because that month only has 28 days to work. The thing I care about the least is salary. I am willing to reduce the burden on the company and be the first in the Protection Zone to have my salary reduced. My motto is to not compete on money, not compete on family, but only compete on effort. I am the best employee in the Protection Zone for 8 consecutive years." And then looked at Zhang Wenwu as if she were looking at a rebellious son. She pointed to the 8 best employee certificates behind her and angrily said, "You actually want me to exploit the company's loopholes and help them arrange to freeload on the spirit vein?" She was so angry that she rushed up and slapped Zhang Wenwu hard with her claws. Zhang Wenwu didn't dare to fight back. He could only continue to persuade, "Sister, the breeding base is about to be shut down, and you will be packaged and sold to the Oasis Group by the company." Anew said, "The company must have its reasons for selling me to someone. I will obey the arrangement." Zhang Wenwu said, "The Oasis Group is not as good to demonkin employees as Red Pagoda Animal Husbandry. They will use you for experiments." Anew didn't believe it. "The manager said that after I go to the Oasis Group, he will still arrange for me to work at the breeding base. He won't lie to me." Zhang Wenwu sighed, knowing that in Anand's eyes, his credibility was not as good as the Protection Zone manager's. So with a bang, Zhang Wenwu's huge figure knelt on the ground. "Sister, please help me." Looking at Zhang Wenwu's appearance, Anand's aura suddenly weakened, and she said in a loss, You, what are you doing? Did you not do well on the monthly exam? Or can you pay off the loan?" Zhang Wenwu said in a deep voice, "Sister, I'm going to be eliminated." "And you weren't your monthly exam scores good a few times ago? How could you?" Zhang Wenwu said, "Because my performance in the competition is too poor. If I continue to be so poor, my father will eliminate me to a worse class." He pointed to Zhang Yuan by Zhenjin next to him and said, "If you don't believe me, ask them. They are the ones who won against me in the competition and eliminated me." Seeing the look Zhang Wenwu gave them, Zhang Yuan by Zhenjin looked at each other and nodded directly, acknowledging the matter. Zhang Wenwu looked at the bewildered Anew and continued, "Sister, they said that as long as they are arranged to have the opportunity to breathe in the spirit vein, not only will they let me win next time, but they will also help me with tutoring for free to improve my grades. Sister, I'm begging you, I don't want to be eliminated by my father. I want to get better rankings in the competition. Can you help me? If you don't believe me, here are the news and videos of us participating in the competition. Take a look." And then first checked the information about the competition online, and then saw in the video that Zhang Wenwu was beaten to a hemorrhage by Zhenjin in the martial arts competition, and he was torn with muscles in the sports competition, but still lost to Zhang Yu. Little Panda Anew turned her head to look at Zhang Yu, and by Zhenjin, clasped her hands together and bowed, and said, "How much money do you want? Let me pay it for him. He really worked hard to get into high school. He has a chance to go to college." Zhang Yu chuckled and said, 10,000 yuan per hour. Anand's face turned pale when she heard this. As a demonkin who didn't even go to high school and didn't cultivate immortality, her monthly salary was only 2,000 yuan. Bai Zhenjin said from the side, "If you can't afford it, let us freeload on the spirit vein. We'll freeload for an hour, and we'll tutor him for an hour when we go out." Zhang Wenwu pleaded, "Sister, I want tutoring. I want to continue to go to high school and go to college. I don't want to work in a factory. Please help me." Little Panda Anan bit her lip, looked at Zhang Wenwu, kneeling, on the ground, and finally sighed, okay. At this moment, Anan only felt that her company person, and company's soul were shattered, and she was ashamed of the awards on the wall. So the next day, led by Zhang Wenwu, Anan, Zhang Yuan by Zhenjin, entered the breeding base through the material transportation channel and came to a room in the incubation room. As soon as he entered the incubation room, Zhang Yu felt an incomparably fresh air rushing towards him, washing his body from head to toe, and even making him feel as if his soul had been washed, giving him a feeling of floating like an immortal. Is this the air from the spirit vein? It's much more comfortable than in the protection zone. He took a deep breath, feeling the spiritual energy rolling back and forth in his body, greedily absorbed by every inch of flesh and blood. But after slightly running the Great Sun Qi technique, he looked at the surrounding light sources, and a trace of regret appeared in his eyes. Zhang Wenwu asked from the side, is there any other problem? Zhang Yu said, is there any light source here? We need more light when we cultivate. Light? Zhang Wenwu thought for a while and said, will the incubation lamp work? It's used to warm dragon eggs. So, under Anan's reluctant guidance, Zhang Yu and Zhang Wenwu moved more than a dozen incubation lamps over together. As the lights were turned on, Zhang Yu only felt as if there were small suns in front of him, and under the intense light, the surrounding spiritual energy seemed to shine towards his body along with the light, making him feel that the great sun magic power in his whole body was surging violently. Fuji and Zhang Yu's chest analyzed, this incubation lamp is not an ordinary lamp, it is used to incubate dragon eggs, the light inside has been processed by some kind of immortal technique, and it seems to be able to condense spiritual energy more easily. The effect of the spirit vein plus the incubation lamp, the true spirit root is also breathing along with the great sun Qi. The great sun magic power in his body erupted like a volcano, roaring back and forth in his body. Zhang Yu felt the spiritual energy swarming around him, and he had the illusion of soaking in a spiritual energy pool. His breathing efficiency is constantly improving. Improve. Improve again. Finally reached a limit, and can no longer improve. Is this the spirit vein, the effect of the true spirit route plus the 10th level Qi refining mid-stage breathing technique? The breathing technique is really firing on all cylinders. Zhang Yu felt that he was really breathing and cultivating immortality at this moment, compared to which he was simply snatching car exhaust before. But on second thought, magic power is something that students in Qi high schools can achieve step by step, spending a few years to reach the 100 limit. And now, in order to reach the level of a senior high school student, at the end of the first year, he and Bai Zhenjin have to put in a lot of effort and money. At this moment, Bai Zhenjin said from the side, Yuzi, quickly give me the spirit root, let me try it too. The latest novel is available on 69shu.com. After the true spirit root was taken away, Zhang Yu felt that the breathing speed suddenly dropped by 30 to 40%, and a burst of loss welled up in his heart. It seems that I can only come here separately with a Zhen in the future. So Zhang Yu let Bai Zhenjin stay here to cultivate first, and he will come again next time. On the way out, Zhang Yu asked Zhang Wenwu curiously, the money you asked us for, are you planning to use it to help Anan? Zhang Wenwu was silent for a moment, and said, I want to help her pay off her breeding debt, so that she can leave here, so that she doesn't have to worry about being sold to the Oasis group in the future. In the following days, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin's cultivation progressed rapidly, and their physical strength and magic power increased steadily. Although the Dao heart did not increase so rapidly, it was also steadily improving. Zhang Yu only regretted that Xiong had no news from the spirit world, saying that he had to wait until after the college entrance examination, when a large number of senior high school students graduated, before positions could be freed up. In the blink of an eye, the time has come to early June. Tomorrow is the day of the college entrance examination. And this also means that the day of Zhang Pianpian's departure is getting closer and closer. As the college entrance examination approached, the atmosphere in Songyang High School became more and more tense, and the status of senior high school students rose even higher, and a look could make junior high school students retreat. Even the originally serious teachers were now gentle and considerate when they saw senior high school students, for fear of any damage before the college entrance examination. During this period of time, although with the increase in data, the training effect of the same training methods will definitely become weaker and weaker. But when the time came to June, Zhang Yu's physical strength had also increased to 5.99, his magic power had increased to 60, 2, and his Tao heart had reached level 5. However, as he ate more and more, used more and more medicine, and with the consumption in the protection zone, Zhang Yu's savings were also being consumed more and more. Even though he already had income from tutoring fees, sparring fees, etc., they had now dropped to more than 120,000. And according to what he knew, Bai Zhen's income was even lower than his, and her savings were about to run out. These days, Zhang Yu often sighed in his heart, the road to immortality is really spending money like water. But fortunately, the money was not spent in vain, and it is getting closer and closer to Bai Long's senior high school entry level of Tao Heart level 6, magic power of more than 70 units, and physical strength level of 7.5 or above. I should be able to reach it in the remaining 2 months. But Zhang Yu also knew that in the following time, with Zhang Pianpian's departure, he would face more tests. 3 days later, not long after the college entrance examination ended, Zhang Yu received a call from Zhang Pianpian. I'm leaving soon. After I leave, it is safest for you to stay in the city and school as much as possible. But you and I both know that this is impossible. Zhang Yu nodded slightly. Since they were going to participate in the foundation establishment exam, it was impossible for them to stay in school and Songyang City all the time. Zhang Pianpian continued, other rich people are not a threat for the time being. The people who are most hostile to you now are Chechen and Lanling. After I leave, you have to be careful. Listening to the various instructions from Zhang Pianpian on the other end of the phone, Zhang Yu nodded from time to time, making a sound of HMM. The 10 great sects have established an iron law that, in order to maintain security and the business environment at all levels, it is forbidden to travel freely between the levels of Kongshu. If you want to come back, you either have to be like real person Xinghe, with greatly reduced cultivation and shrunk assets, and come down in disgrace after many twists and turns. Or you have a specially assigned task or job, like the Songyang director of Xiong Group, who is sent to this level to sit on the bench. But both of these are just the result of being eliminated while climbing up. I don't want them. Brother, I want to climb to a higher place in Kongshu, and see the scenery above. So my eyes will only look up, not back. If we meet again in the future, it can only be above, never on the first level of Kongshu. Jiang Yu clenched his fist and said to Zhang Pianpian, on the other end of the phone, sister, I will definitely catch up with you. Jiang Pianpian laughed and said, then I'll wait for you at Wanfa University. Zhang Yu asked again, it's so difficult to go up and down. Do you have anything you don't need that you can leave for me? Jiang Pianpian said, I still have more than 20 million in debt. Forget it. Zhang Yu said righteously, it's better for you to keep such personal things close to your body. I mean, do you have anything you can't take with you? Like a house, a car, or something valuable? PFFD. Bai Zhenzhen couldn't help laughing from the side, feeling like she was listening to her good grandson asking his grandmother, who was ascending to heaven, for her inheritance. Zhang Pianpian said, I've left you 3 talismans. Zhang Yu looked at the 3 pictures sent by the other party, each of which was a screenshot of a talisman, but because the content was too complicated, he couldn't understand what kind of talisman it was. Moreover, a trace of doubt arose in his heart. Can screenshots also be used? Jiang Pianpian said, these 3 talismans are, respectively, a freezing talisman, which can freeze other people's bank accounts, but the higher the other party's faith level, the shorter the freezing time. There is also a thunder talisman, which can sound a thunder alarm, and summon the armed forces of the patrol team to enforce the law within 1 minute. But remember that the minimum charge for such an alarm is 10,000, so be sure to confirm that you have money in your account before using it. There is also a divine travel talisman, which can summon a small land god to drive you and escape instantly, with a maximum distance of 10 kilometers, but you must remember that the charge for this is 3,000 yuan per kilometer, which is directly deducted from your account, so you must calculate the money before using it. Zhang Yu's eyes lit up when he heard this, feeling that these 3 talismans were really useful. Jiang Pianpian said lightly, I will also send you the phone number of the captain of the Songyang City Patrol team. I have stored the talismans with her. After you add her as a friend, when you need to use any of these 3 talismans, send it to her, and she will activate the talisman for you. Also, if you encounter problems that you can't solve yourself, you can also go to her. Speaking of this, Zhang Pianpian paused, seemingly considering something, and finally said, if you need a higher divine department identity as a cover, she can help promote you. You can discuss with her how to do it specifically. But if she promotes you, remember to only promote you to a special assistant at most. Also, remember never to go see her alone at night. Also, continue to work as a contractor, never sign a formal contract. Also, don't worry about the loan, just pay it back slowly according to the contract. Take the time to improve yourself, it doesn't matter if you owe more, many times the amount of debt is also a reflection of strength. Also, open the registration website for the foundation establishment exam when you arrive in Xiong City. I haven't participated in it, so you have to adapt to the specific situation. In this way, Zhang Pianpian patiently explained various matters to Zhang Yu one by one, and Zhang Yu listened very carefully. Until the end, she slowly said, we have no foundation on the first level of Kongshu. Remember, never use my name to cause trouble everywhere. After I leave, be as patient as possible. If you pass the foundation establishment qualification certificate, then you must not be ostentatious. Zhang Yu felt a drop of sweat flow down his forehead. His sister was really something. Was he, Zhang Yu, the kind of guy who bullies others and causes trouble everywhere? Don't worry, sister, just wait for me at Wanfa University. I'll come to you in 2 years. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Yu suddenly felt a little empty, as if the elder who had been protecting him was about to ascend to heaven, and he would face the world alone in the future. Alas, let's prepare for the foundation establishment exam registration first. Zhang Yu picked up the phone and called his head teacher, So Haifeng. Hello. Lao Su, Bai Zhenzhen and I want to ask for 2 days off. This is something that senior Zhang Pianpian wanted me and Bai Zhenzhen to help her with before she left. Can't I even ask for this leave? Then I can only tell her to let senior Zhang Pianpian ascend to the ascension platform with regrets. Okay, thanks, Lao Su. Time passed in a blink of an eye, and it was the day before the foundation establishment exam registration. And today was also the day when Zhang Pianpian stepped onto the ascension platform and officially left. Night. Songyang City, Intercity Railway Station. Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen were sitting together in the waiting room, waiting for the high-speed train to Tiantai City. The reason why they booked a train to Tiantai City instead of a direct train to Xiongdu was just because they didn't want to reveal their destination. At this moment, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen were also continuing to seize the time to breathe in and out. In the past few days, Zhang Yu's various values had also improved again. His mana had increased to 61.4, and his physical strength had reached level 6.08. But he also had less money on him. Especially because during the college entrance examination period, various controls in the entire Songyang city became increasingly strict, and constables could be seen from time to time on the streets near various high schools. Not only were outsiders prohibited from entering major high schools, but even the dark tutoring gang stopped tutoring activities, which cost Zhang Yu a lot of income. Zhang Yu could only sigh that the college entrance examination was related to the university, the quota for ascending to the second level, and the future of countless people and families. It was indeed a top priority, so that the entire Songyang city was like a formidable enemy. And his savings had also been reduced to 50,000 in these days. I still have to find a way to make money. After returning from this registration, maybe I can expand the business of the dark tutoring world. Just over an hour later, Zhang Yu's phone vibrated slightly and received a message from Zhang Pianpian. Zhang Pianpian, I'm leaving first. Immediately afterwards, the other party's avatar turned gray, and Zhang Yu knew that unless there were some special communication methods, he would not be able to contact his sister again until he ascended to the second level of Kongshu. Thinking of this, Zhang Yu once again felt a trace of loss in his heart. Next time we meet, it will probably be in 2 years. Fortunately, there is still Zhen. He turned his head to look at Bai Zhenzhen, who was eating a bucket of synthetic food next to him, and said, Zhen, why did you eat my share too? Bai Zhenzhen said, you were staring blankly at your phone, I thought you weren't going to eat it. Zhang Yu motherfucker. Not long after arriving at Tiantai City Station, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen took another train to another city. Time passed in the blink of an eye, more than 10 hours later. The speeding train traveled on the earth. Zhang Yu looked at Zhen next to him, and found that the other party was lying on the car window, exclaiming, Yuzi, look at that. I saw dense crowds in the distance, from the sky to the earth, all were endless city scenes. That was the goal of Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenzhen's trip, Xiongdu City. above Xiongdu City, there were white and golden auspicious clouds spreading out like continents and islands, on which you could see many immortal palaces and temples, and countless skyscrapers standing in the clouds, like a city in the sky. And below this aerial city was the earth, which was always shrouded in shadows, and the densely packed buildings on the earth, and the neon lights constantly flashing in the darkness. A young man sat not far from Xiong, Yu, and Bai Zhenjin. He pointed to the sky city and said, "Uncle, have you been to the upper city?" The old man sitting next to the young man had a face full of ravines. Looking at the scene of Xiongdu, he looked in surprise and said calmly, "Well, I went up to work when I was young. At that time, there were only a few floating islands in the upper city. Later, it was built bigger and bigger, and the clouds became thicker and thicker. Now it is called Kunshu's first and a half level by the rich. The top is getting more and more prosperous, and the bottom of the lower city. There are more and more cloudy days, and finally it has become like this, it is always night." The young man said, "Isn't it uncomfortable to stay without a day?" The old man said disdainfully, "It's enough to make money, what's the difference between day and night? Boy, let me tell you, even begging in Xiongdu is better than working in a factory in other cities." As the train slowly stopped at the station in the lower city, Zhang Yu and Bai Zhenjin felt a chill in the air as soon as they got off the train. Looking up at the sky, they could only see the rolling sea of clouds in the upper city. But the outside of the city looked like white and golden auspicious clouds, but when viewed from below the clouds, you could only see a pitch black area, like dark clouds constantly surging back and forth. Is it because the bottom of the clouds is covered by the various buildings and roads of the upper city from the sunlight? It's really depressing. Zhang Yu thought to himself, if I stay here all the time, it will be inconvenient to practice the Great Sun Qi. The two did not wander around, but stayed in the station, found a deserted corner, and opened the registration website according to Zhang Pianpian's instructions. In the past, the two had also opened this website, but each time it was blank and had no information. Now standing in Xiongdu City, there was finally information on the registration website, but it was just a countdown. Hasn't it started yet? The two simply wandered around the station, looking at the box lunches for hundreds of dollars, the water for 10 yuan a bottle, and the stockings worth 50 million, and they all sighed at the expensive prices. Suddenly, Bai Zhenjin pointed to the 50 million white stockings and said, "Yuzi, that is actually an external spiritual route." Zhang Yu, "Yeah. Bai Zhenjin, if you put this on, it's like you have a spiritual route too." Zhang Yu rolled his eyes and said, "If you're going to wear it, you wear it, and then give me the real spiritual route." Bai Zhenjin said, "Okay, then remember to buy it for me in the future." Zhang Yu didn't think he could afford such an expensive external spiritual route at all, and said casually, "I'll buy you 7 in the future, 7 different colors, 7 days a week, and change them every day." While the two were wandering around, the countdown to the registration time finally ended. The two looked at the instructions above: find a space with no surveillance, no outsiders, and only yourself, and then click confirm.